One of the very best parts about DIYing stuff for yourself is if you want to see a specific feature added, you don't need to wait for a company to do anything, you just kinda add it. If you didn't see my last video, this is my mechanical 7-segment display thermometer. It uses this little temperature sensing chip and an ESP32 so that whenever it gets hotter, if I'm holding in my hands here, it will reflect the real-time temperature of whatever the room it's in. A lot of people wanted to see this in Fahrenheit, so I'm gonna show you how easy that is to do on a project like this. So this is the code, and this is the variable where I store temperature, and currently it's storing in Celsius. Head on over to Google, Celsius to Fahrenheit equation. And in classic imperial fashion, the equation is way more complicated than I thought it was gonna be. We're gonna copy that. Back to our code, paste that in there. I simply just replace the Celsius variable in the equation with the Celsius value that we get from the sensor. And I think we're ready to go now, just click upload. And that was super easy. We're now showing 72 degrees in this room. It is currently 22 degrees Celsius. Let's go over to our little converter here. 72 degrees Fahrenheit equals 22 Celsius. I think we are up and running. Of course, I can still put my finger over the sensor to heat it up and let that value increase. Anyway, really quick video, but I just want to show you guys how simple it is to make a change like that when you're DIYing something. And it's one of my favorite reasons to do things in this way opposed to buying stuff off the shelf. That being said, that was for demonstration purposes only. I'm going to change this right back to metric because I like using units of measurement. That actually makes sense to me. Thanks for watching. So I've never really made a video on this because it's not really interesting, but I realized it's a tool that I use every single day at my workbench and my desk, so I thought I'd quickly show it to you. And that is this. It's a little handheld vacuum that I use to clean my workspaces. This one's actually built for car detailing, and I picked this one specifically for a few different reasons. First off, the suction on it is absolutely insane. Like I said, this is meant for car detailing. I found the ones that are actually built for your desk have like the saddest amount of suction, but this has more than I will literally ever need. Also recharges via USB-C, so it works really seamlessly and with the workflow of my other tools. And if you need it, you can plug this little piece into the bottom here. And then what you have is a really powerful blower. Super easy to empty. This top piece just pops off. Pops off, dump your garbage out, ready to rock. Whether it's remnants of a project I was working on my workbench or just dust and like food crumbs on my desk, I use this every single day. I did test out a few. I can't remember how much this one was. I think it was about $50. I'll put it up here on screen and I will have a link to it in my bio as well. And also make that an affiliate link. So if you want to pick one of those up for yourself, it's a great little way to support me and give. Anyway, that's my boring little vacuum. Thanks for watching. Bye. So now that I've got these mechanical 7-segment displays hooked up to motors, I think it's time to actually build something useful with them. I think the obvious project here is to print 2 more and build a clock, but I wanted to build something a little bit more creative first. I want to try to get these things to display the temperature of the room they're in real time. Instead of just doing it and showing it off to you guys, I'm going to take you along with me and show you what steps I'm going to take to figure out how to build something like this. This is still going to be really quick, but if you like learning about nerd shit and building stuff, I think you're really going to love this. So before I deal with the electronics, I want to make it visually clear that this thing is displaying temperature, so I printed this little stand. It just connects the modules together and gives me these 2 posts to mount something to. I 3D printed this thermometer here that I'm put on the left again, and this little degrees symbol here. All right, I mounted those up and I think it turned out great. I think even if you've never seen this thing before and you walked in a room, it'd be at least somewhat clear what it's showing. Now, this is where the fun problem-solving part comes in. So the whole project's running on an ESP32, which is basically an Arduino. And I have one of these. It's called a BM180. It's basically a temperature sensor that can be used with Arduino. So we've got the sensor plugged into the board here. We're just gonna start by making sure the sensor is working. And to do that, we're gonna run some super simple code. Even if you've never seen code before, I'll walk you through this. All this is gonna do is initiate the sensor. This is just telling the Arduino that a sensor is connected to it. It's then gonna set it up. It's gonna run the sensor setup, sensor begin, and then literally all it does is it loops through this code, which says print out the temperature, wait a second, and then print out the temperature again. It's going to do that infinitely. Now, if we go down, we can see here that it's just printing out the temperature. Now, check this out. What we're going to do is hold our finger over top of the sensor to warm it up. And you can see here that the temperature is rising. So this is now working. We're like literally almost halfway there. Now we need to figure out how to get the sensor to output on the displays here. What we're gonna do is start by looking at the code that I was using to count them up. So what you have to remember here is we have 2 motors, and basically every 20 degrees that these motors turn, it's gonna count up a number. And the code here again is super simple. What it's gonna do is initiate 2 servos. Servos are the motors that are on the back of these things. We're then gonna start a counter. This is a variable. We're starting it at 0. We then run the basic setup stuff. We attach the servos to a certain pin on the board. Then we write both of the servos to 0. So it starts at 0. Then check it out. This is super simple. All we do is we increment the counter by 1. We set the 10 servo. We do some math just to calculate degrees to what that value should be. Then we set the 1 servo, same thing, do some math. We wait half a second. then it just keeps repeating. Again, that's really straightforward, and I think we could adapt the sensor to this super simply. Okay, this almost seems like it was too easy, but I think this should work. All we changed is when we were setting up the board, we initiated our sensor. That's what the BMP begin is. Then we totally removed the counter because we're not counting up anymore. And instead, when I calculated what value to write to the 10 servo, instead of using our counter value, I just use the temperature sensor value, same thing for the ones, and then I wait a second in between checking it. So this thing will update to the valid temperature every second. Let's do this real time and upload the code and just see if it works. Okay, code is uploading. The current temperature in the room is 21 degrees. It should flip to 0 and then just show the temperature. Hold on, it's uploading. Hell yeah, I think that's right. First time's a charm, baby. So I think that's just project done now. I'm gonna hold my finger on this and it updates the temperature in real time. When I take it off, it's gonna take time to cool down, but I'm gonna call that a success. I'm gonna go grab an ice cube just to see if it'll like drop down. All right, we've got an ice cube that I'm gonna put on the sensor here. Oh yeah, you'll see it's dropping right down. Obviously, this isn't how you'd actually use the thing, but I just want to show that it's responding properly to temperature. I think this is cool. So I kind of hit everything behind, and I think as is, this is a super successful project. I think if anybody walked in the room, looked at this, they'd know what it's showing you, and I think that means we did a good job. So like I said, I'm going to do other things with these displays, but I'm probably going to leave this as is and just print some more because I think this is genuinely useful. I mean, I probably leave it in my office here, maybe print one for the living room. I just think it's really cool, it's useful, and I think we did a good job with this one. If you guys have any questions at all or any further ideas, please let me know in the comments. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next video.